board of directors, and mostly they are from government. And here we can see that all three groups, first one, left side, these people are in charge for financial statements, accountants, managers who do that stuff. Second one, second group is auditors, and last one, investors. And here, I mean, when we analyze components, this one is their component two is their knowledge of IFRS or financial reporting. Of course, auditors has higher position than accountants or investors. But here, what is important, credentials. I mean, how pushy people are, how much time they spend, how deeper knowledge they have in a business. And of course, investors are here all together, and they're linked and tied with their auditors, not with an accountant. It's very important conclusion. Final conclusion that, first of all, we have to pay a lot of attention to market information system. It's not clear, and even Bloomberg and Yahoo Finance, they have a lot of discrepancy and differences. And level of mistakes, ex post adjustments is high. It might have more than 50%. And level of mistakes is also very significant, 6%, which is higher than significance level for business. Usually auditors set up 5%, but not more than 10% for some parts of balance sheet or profit and loss accounts. For second part of research, we can see that investors dissatisfied with financial statements. They want to see it shorter, more clear and precise. That's important conclusion. And we have to reduce financial statements, maybe not to 17 or 20 pages, but at least to 25, 50, and it's called integrated form of reporting. That's our future. Thank you very much. I'm ready to answer on your questions.
Thank you very much. And the last words, the last slogans was beautiful. Yes, it's our future. Okay, thank you. And now, dear colleagues, your questions.
I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
So, Mikhail, thank you so much for your presentation. It was very nice to look at it. Can you tell us, actually, as we know, the results of your project were already published in the papers.
That's
so
right.
Can you say some more words about it, because our commission probably doesn't know about it.
Sure. Just give me a second. Actually, here we can see that I have 6 articles. 5 of them has been published, and last one completely approved. Actually, it's a digital object identifier. It's from St. Petersburg University, and I expect that like very, maybe June, July, it should be published. I like Russian Management Journal, very good. I mean, it's has a good reputation, and actually it's from High School of Economic A level. I mean, it's like kind of top priority journal. Same, of course, with Lomonosov Moscow State University and Journal of Applied Economic Research. I mean, I feel that these papers are very good. Actually, this Digest Finance is good too, as well. That's why 6 papers. I feel proud that I managed to use all knowledge, and being under Professor Filigoy auspices. It's awesome. I mean, it's very good result. And actually, where I got a good reports from ResearchGate. 30 people, mostly, of course, Chinese, Vietnamese, but few Americans and Netherlands. They are copy these articles, these papers. Yeah.
Good job. Very productive.
Yeah, and I continue actually. It's not
exactly. Igor, your turn, please.
Yeah. I'm ready.
Yeah, hello. You raised very important questions in the talk, but I understand that many of them don't have yes or no answers or simple answers. But for example, in 2022, last year, the Central Bank of Russia, they completely stopped reporting usual monthly report for the banks, and also similar actions were done by other central banks. For example, in 2008 and earlier, the Fed they also changed the mark-to-market standards, so to the notional standard of a bond accounting. So that's the reason the government do that, because the volatility of the balance sheets, and in order to hide actual risks from the balance sheet, or at least don't disclose it. So only management accounting can see the actual risks that the financial institution has, but the public does not. So do you think that this is also, I mean, the standards also take into account the public like perception? Everybody wants have stable companies, and that's why we from fair accounting use like unfair for a certain period of time when the volatility is high, and then we switch to fair accounting again.
Okay, yeah, thank you for these questions. Actually, you know, just a brief 10-second story about myself. You know, I'm first person in Russia who actually prepared financial statements based on IFRS for largest company like Gazprom, Alrosa, Pension Fund of Russia. I'm the person, when you open the website of Gazprom or Alrosa, you can see this financial statement from 1996 up to 2004, and it had been done. I mean, it was prepared by me. Actually, I was in charge. I was in large as a auditors and then partner in large audit firms. I was, you know, keen on IFRS because I got proper training as a chartered accountant in Canada and then in UK. But anyway, my point is that since 2010, IFRS standards became crippled. It's not good anymore. You know, and the concept of fair market value is not clear and obvious. Like recent initiatives, I mean, it's maybe interesting for you. In last year, actually, December 2022, their IFRS Foundation set up 5 new committees inside the IFRS Foundation. First one is human resource. They want to put people on balance sheet. They say, okay, anything we have in a company should be on balance sheet. We should value it. And of course, I criticized it. Say, okay, guys, look at this, because it's, and I had a paper, not here. It's a different paper. It's not related to this. IFRS Foundation never had any people from Russia, even from Soviet Union, or former republics of Soviet Union. It's completely under Anglosphere, I call this. It's a significant influence of Americans. IFRS Foundation has 13 American professionals. But my point is that when they take people from China, from Russia, like IT specialists to Apple immediately will get higher human HR valuation. And we immediately, or Chinese, immediately decrease. Second committee, carbon or ecology, like all that pollutions and blah, blah, blah. Same stuff. The Western world shift production facility to China or to Russia, wherever, right? And we immediately have worse results and lower valuation, and they have opposite, higher valuation. That's why when we analyze all subjects and parts of financial statements, we can see that it's virtual. We don't have substance anymore. Like when I see revenue, I can tell you that it's exactly cost-based accounting, that is exactly $500 million. When I just, it's called rollback or roll forward tests. When I deduct some stuff, usually we have significant difference. That's why it's not so clear. And Chinese use cost,
Okay.
and it's very different. Okay, and sorry, yeah, we'll see a lot of changes in FIRS. For sure, it will be shorter, more clear, more precise. And actually, Sberbank start to do this. They, they first reduce statements, and we'll see even more reduction. But it's hot topic. Next years, definitely, we'll see a lot of issues with reports.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, thank you. Stanislav, your question.
Yeah, just a short question. Thank you, Mikhail, for the interesting research and for your presentation. Could you please clarify how do you get access to respondents from your sample? So is it your personal contacts and network, or maybe you use snowball sampling, or how it was organized?
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. In 2000, actually, because I'm with Lomonosov Moscow State University, and we had a complex survey. I was in charge for methodology, like I designed all that stuff. But of course, it was verified by Lomonosov Moscow State University team, and 2 independent companies were invited to help us to collect the data because it was large, our scope. But of course, our Sberbank First actually helped me too, and VTB private bank gave me some people as well. Right, with wealthier people, I had direct contact because I'm a client of Sberbank Private, even not First Private, right? That's why I have a meeting with that people, and it's easy for me. But large sample was covered by 2 independent companies to avoid any kind of links and ties and to be more independent. Yeah, but it was 500 people, but only 275 eventually present all data.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. If we have no questions from other members of committee, I want to go to the reviewers. And the both reviewers set a resulting grade as 10, and both of them wrote good words to you and to your research, and it was a really large review in both cases. And let me read only some conclusions. Anushka Ferligoy, she's a professor in International Laboratory of Applied Network Analysis. She wrote in his master thesis, Mikhail has demonstrated deep knowledge, expertise, experience, and ability to formulate and solve complex research goals and objectives. Since his term paper report was accepted, he has also published several articles. One of his original paper was directly related to his master thesis and was published in one of the leading academic journals. I think it's enough in order to understand the opinion of Anushka. And the next review, it was prepared by Alexander Rostovtsev. He is from Tula State University. And also he concludes that from the standpoint of not only the PhD qualified university lecturer, but also a certified practicing auditor and appraiser with many years of professional expertise, I'm pleased to note that the undergraduate not only qualitatively completed their assigned study and demonstrated deep knowledge of the theory of problems, but also proved to possess versatile skills and abilities to conduct a comprehensive statistical analysis data, and so on. And the both grades 10, and I think I need read more the text from the reviews because the both reviewers sent us all excellent words to your work. That's it. Your defense is over, and now you can add some comments from you and your final words.
Thank you very much for Mashna program. I was very happy to get these tools and knowledge, and I use it a lot. You can see that for me it's crucial. Without this knowledge, I would not be able to complete my research, and I feel that now I have a unique kind of niche between accountants and statisticians, and I can apply all that knowledge on a very high level. I can see that when I present my papers, they usually, before it was, okay, we need more statistics, but now they say, okay, please, can you just reduce half of statistics? That's important, for me, message that I have a very deep knowledge and I can use from Bayesian to discriminant or multivariate analysis. And it's very cool. And thank you very much for you, for all program, for Daria, Lubov, thank you, and Professor Klimov, thank you, and Stanislav, and for your consulting project. Thank you very much. I'm a very happy person here.
Thank you, Mikhail. It was really interesting to you, and good luck. That's it. So now we have to go further. Wait a moment. And who is next? Lev Tsipas. I'm sorry, I didn't. It's the desk is yours. You can start.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So, can you see my presentation?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, cool. So today I'm about to present to you my master thesis, The Idea of Love in the Works of the Classics of Russian Literature, the Textual Analysis. So what this research is about. Basically, I wanted to study Russian culture in depth through the perspective of Russian literature, Russian poetry to be precise. I wanted to understand what kind of sentiment Russian poetry contains, and especially I believe the most important thing in our lives, love. Russian culture is well known for being sad or being all about suffering. So I wanted to test this hypothesis statistically and bring some mathematics into the subject. So the goal of this research is basically to provide mathematically driven overview of Russian classical poetry. And the value of this research is that firstly, it's as objective as I believe it can be when we talk about literature and fictional one, because I delivered figures, unlike, for example, people who do qualitative research and sometimes they deliver more opinion-based research. Also, I covered quite a long-term period of 2 centuries, which is a lot, especially we try to analyze something qualitatively. It's really hard to contain that all in one person's brain. And I also brought some visualizations for easier understanding of the project. So the overall question is Russian poetry predominantly sad? Is love in Russian poetry predominantly sad? And turning that into mathematical hypothesis, that would be words with negative sentiment have on average higher centralities than words with positive sentiment. So what I did basically, if you're interested, I'll cover it in the Q&A session, but I mainly turned all the corpus that I got from the Russian Ministry of Cultural Heritage, turned that into a co-occurrence network, then cut like top pieces of the network, separated them into 4, like based on the period, Golden Age, Silver Age, early and late USSR, analyzed centralities, turned them into some sort of percentile score based on the ranking, and visualized with Geffen and Kandinsky, and that's how I got my data that I analyzed. So without further ado, let's come to the results. Firstly, let's take a look on the overall like network. This is basically how it looks without really like distinctive, clusters, more or less cohesive. And here you can see like the main nodes like Любовь. I'll do it in English. So love, to love, heart, friend, soul. So these are like the basic words, really obvious. And here, if you want to analyze, first step is to understand such clusters like this green one. These are nodes that are exclusively connected to one of the major nodes. For example, these green words, green edges, are the edges that are connected to the word to love. So to love is associated with really intense adjectives. So let me give you an example. So these adjectives include many epithets for the word crazily, like пламенно, ardently, безумно, mindlessly, безнадежно, helplessly, or words that are synonyms of courage, like to dare or rebel, or like words that emphasize longevity, like to swear or forever or surely. So we can see that when we describe the verb, the process to love, it's firstly a really intense stuff for Russian poetry with really hoping for it to last forever. So we want love to last forever, and we experience this really intensively. And if we take a look at the cluster of the noun, love as a noun, there we can see a really negative sentimented words, like the ones that mark self-destruction, like poison, or to be on fire, or to get tired, or being enemies, or torture, or violent. Also a lot of words about like sadness, like grief, moan, to yearn for, grave, coffin, and also like this is one hand side. And the other hand side are words about dreams, like future perspective, which are positive, like reverie, which is береза, bliss, golden, freedom, immortal, or joy. So we can see that here there is no evidence of love so far, that it's enjoyable in the moment, but we can see some clue that people hope that it's gonna become enjoyable in the moment. And for example, here you can see this is cluster of like love and to love. Visualized in Kandinsky AI, we can see like as a person runs somewhere and getting shot in their back. So this is the like very top, like not deep level of analysis. Like if we don't go deep, we see like love portrayed this way, which is really not funny, not really enjoyable. So if we move on, also like one of the topics that really Russians use to describe love is like this black cluster, which is the celestial cluster. So also like really trivial, like Russian poetry, when we talk about love, we also talk about night and things that happen during the night. Very interestingly, that there are words like sun and the moon, and Russians used, like when they describe the object of love, who they love, they usually used moon. I understood this because the word moon has high weights on edges that connects this word to nodes like friend and soul, which were often used as like referrals, like you're my friend, you're my soul, you're my moon. So also like moon is something dark and nightish, and sun is like usually with like words that would describe the person who loves. And also there is like a cluster about the word hand, also very interesting because like hand is like the part of the body where we usually connect physically. So there are also interesting adjectives there, but this is not the most interesting thing. Interestingly, it was like how we get these negative clusters and why do we have such negative sentiment. And dynamic analysis, when we split this whole corpus to 4 periods: Golden Age, Silver, Early, and Late USSR. This is where you have answers. Firstly, Silver Age. What happened when Silver Age started compared to the Golden Age? Firstly, words like dark, black, and darkness gained their degrees, like they became more central. Also, words afraid gained its degree, gained its centrality, while the words like smile and happiness lost degree. Interestingly, before in Golden Age, love and fate were connected together, but in Silver Age, this connection was lost. While fate, the word fate, absorbed all the negative sentiment, and that's really makes sense because we can describe Silver Age as decadence. So people were not really aware what's going to happen. They were really afraid of their future. So fate became a negative word, while love still was connected to words like sun, dawn, spring, and winter. So we can see that during Silver Age, people experienced in the moment like bad outlook, having no belief in their fate, but they disconnected love from their fate and kept positive sentiment in the word like love with sun, dawn, and spring. Then came the most terrifying period in Russian history, early USSR, that is both revolution, bloody Stalin, and the Second World War. And here it's like totally bad, like words like home and wait started being connected directed to the word death. And we see how actually good representation we can get from the network analysis when we talk about NLP, because like this is also like visualized, but like it's better to use like interactive software. So I wrote it on slides in words. Like home and wait are now connected to death. Words like separation, last, snow, blood, death gain centrality the most, which is like really sad thing to know. Decreased influence of the words like sun and peace. And interestingly, in this period, connection between the word to love and victim became a thing. So like the famous like victimhood of the love, of being loved, or to love, this thing we can see became a major thing during this period. But then the USSR started going to the end. And here, another interesting thing we can see, this green thing is the word chut-chut, which is a little bit, and we know that late USSR is a period of scarcity of a lot of goods. It was like recession, and this recession got also represented into poetry. So people were used to a little bit of meat and just a little bit of love. However, during this period, positive words like peace, living, spring, happiness started gaining centralities back, and blood and yearning started going away. Another interesting thing that the word God was decreasing in its centralities through the whole period. So like also like secularization of how Russians love. Not really like Russians started putting less of God plan into the word of love. So here we still see like that Russian period, recent Russian history, it was changing mainly to the negative stuff, like unaware of fate, unaware of the war, not unaware, but like the war that took lives of many people, and also like scarcity, and people were just hoping for the best. But in the moment, they had really tough times, and that's what Russian poetry really observed. However, these are just some really pronounced clusters that are really readable from the poetry. And if you, like, as I said before, this is a co-occurrence network. So these are the words that were standing next to the word love. However, if we take a look on this like network, this big one in general, and starting looking not on like this precise cluster or this precise cluster, but somewhere here, what's happened like to words that have a lot of connection with centralities they have? What is the main like sentiment of the whole Russian poetry? So I took a look at the core vocabulary, which you can see here. Percentage score is like here, like centrality dynamics. So these are the words that were present, highly present through whole history. So those are stable words and how they changed. And we can actually not see any negative words. Like we can see road, alive, path, spring. Here, like here's the God that you can see like its importantness goes down. And also word longing, which is toska, it also goes down. But basically like believe, people started believing more. Black peaked at Silver Age. So Silver Age was like quite of dark aesthetics, but like spring goes up. window goes up. Window is like symbol for opportunities. The word home goes up. So like, and alive. So basically not that bad. And when we go further and analyze the core words that contain sentiment, we can see that the main word, basically, except for the core notes, what we saw before, like to love, like the main topics, the word with the average, with the biggest average ranking, and that has like, which is like on average the most central, is the word happiness. It's like one of the most important words in the whole, like in every network throughout the whole period. So happiness is the most important word, 97%. Then goes like live as like verb, like to live, which is like, it's hard to interpret it when it's out of context, but still like more of a positive. And there are just two negative words like death and longing. But when we look at death, like we can see that here it peaked at early USSR, became really important. But actually, after the Second World War, people stopped really writing about death. So we can see that zero, like it got out of the top most important words. And the word like longing, missing someone, тоска по кому-то, it stably goes down like 94, 85, 85, 81. So like there is a downgoing trend. For example, the word happy as an adjective, we see people didn't use the word happy and also the word love when the war happened. But these like good feelings got restored after the war. And we can also see that in Silver Age, it was 80, like love had like, let's say 80 centrality, and late USSR, it's 85. The same we can say that, for example, happy, it got completely restored to the pre-war period. So basically, we can see that the words that describe positive sentiments, and actually the word which is the most important except for like love and to love, is the word happiness. So the most central topic of love in general, if we go in depth, is happiness. That's what we can say in Russian literature. Here are other AI visualization, like these are words that describe love, like those clusters, the words that stand next to the word love. So we can see an old dying lady on the pedestal, really sad. This is the night cluster, celestial cluster, and these are two clusters. It's really interesting to compare the words like Silver Age and late USSR, like those two, both periods when people were really looking for change, people really wanted something new. And in Silver Age, they had a really dark outlook, a window like the future, and they saw it really dark. But late USSR, it's also the window, but still now it's bright day and mountains and looks really peaceful. So we can see that also, like if we visualize back in the day, it was really dark, but started getting better. So what I can say that sad notes are less central than happy notes. Also, not only talking about the word happiness, if we take a look at the whole network, you will never find a case when there is a sad word, like for example, to cry, or anything that has lower centrality than its antonym. Like laugh has bigger centrality than the word cry. Happy has higher centrality than the word sad. So still the core of Russian poetry is happiness. However, we see that how Russians write about love is that they want love probably like now it's like hypothesis more or less, and that's needed like more, like that's where the quality of research has to step in. Like they want something, some good changes to come. They want love to heal them or maybe help them, or they see love as something good that's going to happen in the future, because right now, like for example, during the Silver Age or during the early USSR, like it's obviously a bad time, that and the badness like that, hard times that come from the outside, and love is a source for hope, or probably for something else, for good outlook for the future that comes from the inside. So, of course, concluding, Russian poetry does contain quite some sad sentiment, which is obvious. And Russian poets used like these like intensifying sad, dark emotions as source, like as a writing style. However, the keep on like the main topic is still happiness. So for Russians, we would say that love is something that I would say через терник звёртнут. This is how we can describe love in Russian literature based on like sentiment analysis, NLP, and the coherence network. So that was my work in brief, I wanted to keep it really fast paced so we have some time for questions. So if you have any questions to like this, if I can talk more deep about like methodology or any of the parts of my results, I would be really happy to do that.
Okay, Lev, thank you very much. It seems to me it's the third time when I'm listening your presentation and your research, and I still I think that it's very interesting and it should be go further. And I think I know right now what can you do to continue your research, but it may be later. Thank you very much. Igor, please.
Lev, thank you very much for the presentation. I have a question. Have you tried look at not at the word level network, but at the cluster level and maybe combine words by semantics using embeddings?
Using what?
Embeddings.
Embeddings. Okay, so a lot of this research, a lot of my time went to like the interpretation and digging into the clusters. So I had that idea in mind, but I didn't have like much time to finish it. So basically what I did like here, like because we have like this cluster of the word, like an example of this one, to love, like this is like the cluster of words that are connected to this one. So they basically stand like together. And so this is like a cluster. If we talk about like bigrams and trigrams, if we talk about mathematically representing the words on the mathematical like scale, or like using that further for like analysis of like mathematical sentimental analysis, I decided to keep it a little bit out of scope of the research, because this is where like embeddings, it's really hard to interpret them because it's mathematical projections onto multi-vector space. And that's when it comes to like hard interpretation. I tried not to use methods where it's hard for a human being to like understand. So I decided to keep it out of scope, but for further research, I do want to implement like not only embeddings, but use keybird, dbird, and like the transformer models. But on this side of the research, I tried to like make the most use of the like basic network analysis and centrality analysis as a fundamental of the research.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Stanislav.
Lev, thank you for your presentation. I find it's very interesting that you decided to use neural network to visualize clusters. And therefore, I wonder, how did you construct prompt? So I understand that you somehow extract keywords from each for each time period, but anyway, what logic of prompt did you use to obtain such results?
Okay, so I used the cut method. So basically, I constructed the concurrence network with the window of 2. So like 2 words to the right, 2 words to the left. Of course, there was like preprocessing, lemmatization. I got rid of the stop words. I also tried different types of what stop words to use. For example, I had a hypothesis that a person can like in Portugal, they may use a lot of the words ja and ti, and we usually get rid of them, but maybe I tried to experiment with that, but still it didn't prove to be a good idea. So preprocessing, lemmatization, also I did part of speech analysis. So that's why you can see like noun, adjective, this is part of speech. And then, so that the whole network would be like extremely giant. So like this, of course, is not the whole corpus of the whole Russian poetry that contained like 4,000, 5,000 pieces. This is top 3%. Why I took top 3%, basically it's just computational power of my Mac. And Gephi couldn't take more. So this is why I would need like something else. But mainly, it turned like when I was experimenting and adding like, this is not like the limit, but when I was adding more, they were adding synonyms or like going in depth to like very like specific topic words. So basically this experimentally turned out to be the good balance. It's like 1,500 edges or so, like got to be a good balance to have like a lot of words, a lot of topics, but not going like too precise into like subtopics that are not really, don't tell us anything else. Then for like this coloring, this is also like Gaffer software.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just, I got it, but how did you extract keywords for prompts? Prompts which you use to visualize pictures which represents 4 time periods for Kandinsky.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So sorry. Yeah. So what I did, for example, here I just took. Okay. So I took the nodes that have exclusive connection to one of the major nodes. For example, this one, like Groza, has its only connection to the word love. Yeah. Then those words, put them into Kandinsky and got the visualization. So this is like that cluster. I couldn't visualize everything. For example, I couldn't visualize the Second World War because Kandinsky has a filter on words like blood and war, like any kind of violence. So that's why I couldn't visualize. But so yeah, that's basically how I did it. Yeah. And the keywords like themselves, like you can say that I sorted by the edge weight. So these are words that have the biggest edge weight to the word.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now I want to switch to the reviewers, and Daria Maltseva, can you comment a bit?
Yeah, sure. So Lev, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm the scientific advisor of Lev, and I also have quite an extensive review. So dear colleagues, you can have a look at it, but I would say some important things. So first of all, I really admire this work, and I think it's an interesting case of implementation of the tools that we are that the students can learn at our program. So I really like this idea of adding this new, so at first making this like, let's say, more classical analysis, and then I think that Lev and also his colleagues with whom they were making another project also on the course of project seminar. And there they also added the images of clusters that they got to the literature in Russian and English, in British literature. So it was used there and it is used here. And I think this is really a very interesting application and kind of nice combination of, let's say, statistical methods and some artistic visualization of the results. So I think that this work should be developed further and should be published, or even probably not published as a scientific article, but somehow published for the audience, because I think it is interesting, and they can be some, I don't know, open sources. Yes, as I would see it, as some like a website with the results and with the pictures, and so that the user can look and can probably it can be done in some kind of dynamic form. But okay, this is for the future. But talking about this work, I also have some comments about the text. And what I found a little bit, what to say, what let's say I found that there is a lack in the literature review, which is actually there is quite an extensive overview of the philosophical ideas of love, so presented by the ideas of different philosophers. But I think it could be nice to add the previous research done in exactly this topic. So how other researchers were using the kind of same data for the analysis of literature, and we do have some cases even for Russian literature. So I think that if you are going to prepare the paper out of it, so it would be nice to include it to show that there are some other research done in the area, and to show what is the novelty of your approach here. And what else? Let me see. Yeah, I just think that it would be nice to try just to make some experiments with the visualizations, like what will happen if we delete love, so which clusters we will see. But I think this is pretty much for the further implementation. And as I understand, Lev is going to continue to work on this project. And I also want to especially mention the motivation of the student, and I think he is very much in love with his project. So I think this is a good way how to make your final qualification work. So just to love what you're doing. So yeah, thank you so much, Lev.
Thank you.
Nice to work with you.
Yeah. Thank you, Daria. And now we have another review from Alexander Pakhomov. He is a PhD student in HSE, and he wrote quite a lot. Well, I found a contradiction in the work that, despite the author's novel approach, resulted in a loss of meaning. At the outset of the work, the author allows for the assertion that most literary reviews are subjective, and that mathematics can help resolve this issue. I consider this thesis ostly because the rules of subjectivity are based on interpreting empirical data, and the mathematics the author uses ultimately requires subjective interpretation rather than providing the solution the author solved. Furthermore, the author's philosophical perspective on love diminishes the study's empirical value, making it sphere is in a vacuum. Thus, the author created a contradiction that became apparent in the work's conclusions. This contradiction permits the theoretical section where the author reduced socioeconomic factors, which I acknowledge was noted earlier, but also likewise reduced philosophy, capping off with the 19th century. From my standpoint, though love is being considered from a philosophical perspective, it is strange that the author did not examine a significant corpus of works that reflect fashion and social emotions regarding the culture's historical periods, which were presented in the analysis. While the author identified the influence, the author did not interpret them. I also want to highlight the good use of visualization, which is distinguished theoretically, could yield interesting results. It is disappointing that there was no visualization of the early Soviet period, as a visual analysis would have been interesting. This led to the need to further investigation, as the phenomenon is too heterogeneous, despite the lack of an attempt to reduce it in the work. The typology from ancient Greece could become the basis for an interesting experiment in determining the direction of love in Russian poetry. From my perspective, it would have been preferable to concentrate on specific aspect of love and investigate it in greater details. To summarize, I found the work engaging due to its simplicity and technological innovation. Unfortunately, of the three goals set by author, not only two were achieved, and the primarily wall of interpretation remained unbroken, despite providing the author with every opportunity. In the future, I hope the author mirrors technology and value to the unlock the full potential of the technology and increase knowledge. I'm sorry, it was a bit difficult because the scan is not good enough, and the suggested grade is 7, and that's it. You can say some final words. Lev?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so first I wanted to address some of the comments by the reviewer. So as for the visualization of the early sub-period, I said that I couldn't do that because of like software limitations. As for my claim to be objective, I still think that I reached this goal because I provide a lot of numbers, and like, for example, final result with the happiness, like it's all like centrally calculated. And throughout the whole paper, you can see tables with mathematics, with numbers. I basically highlight based on the ranking mathematically that words with objectively positive sentiment are higher. So I still think that despite I did indeed use some like interpretations and connecting the my research to what happened externally and trying to explain why, for example, we have a lot of word about blood during the early USSR. That wasn't like the core conclusions from my research. The core conclusions were drawn from the numbers. So I still think that I reached the goal. So that's for my addressing the reviewer. And overall, I wanted to say a huge thank you to Daria Maitseva and to Tamara Shiglova, who supported this research. I do want to publish it, and like other projects, I really enjoyed studying with you all. And yeah, I really appreciate your time and how much effort you put into our studies. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Lev. And let me add a few words. I think it seems to me that it would be interesting to add a comparison with other cultures and poetic traditions. And perhaps you know the works of Anna Verzbitskaya, understanding culture through the keywords, something like that. And she compared some concept in different languages, in German, Polish, and Russian. As far as I remember, friendship, freedom, it might be something else. And I think it might be useful for conceptual part of your research.
Yeah, I'll surely implement it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's it. And now we can move to another participant, Maria Snigereva.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Maria, you have 15 or 20 minutes for your presentation, and then Q&A session.
Fine. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, it works.
Okay, I will start. Today I want to present my master thesis topic. My research is dedicated to MS behavior in a digital environment. So what is the basis of this research? Let's have a look at the next points. Digital environment is an actively developing virtual environment consisting of computer technologies and electronic devices that accompany us on a daily basis. But one of the biggest part of it are social nets, and in this work I made the emphasis on them. Social nets have become for us a source of information, communication, entertainment, sometimes it's even work, strong emotions, and much more. This is just a part of our everyday life, along with the understanding advantages of the social nets. They have some threats. Not only social nets, but the whole digital environment has consequences such as data security threats, privacy threats, detrimental effects on mental health, and many others. In this research, more attention was paid to the emotional, mental side of people in social nets. Most of the research on this topic was carried out outside Russia. So a study based on the analysis of the behavior of Russian youth in social networks will make an additional contribution to the study of this topic. Without understanding how people use the digital environment, it's impossible to effectively protect users and society from digital threats. In addition, understanding people's feelings and behavior in social nets can help create more effective tools and solutions to prevent people from cyberbullying and many other threats. So the main goal of this research is to understand what type of behavior is typical for Russian youth in digital environment. The task of my research first was to collect and analyze theoretical data about human behavior in digital environments. Second, based on the previous researches, create a survey aimed to identify the behavior of young people in social networks. Third is to analyze the data obtained during my survey through questionnaire using various tools such as R and Orange. And fourth is to compare the results of the analysis with the theoretical basis. On this slide, you can see my hypothesis. First is Russian youth rarely participate in internet discussions, and second, Russian youth behave quite secretly in the digital environment. Also, here I show the limitation of my study. First is the digital environment is isn't permanent motion, which cannot but affect on the human behavior, and on the it also have the effect on the results of the study. And second, the human factor can affect the results on the survey, as I used for this work questionnaire. Methodology. First of all, made a literature review. I used literature which observed my problem. Then to analyze the behavior of young people in the social nets, such as a form of field research as a questionnaire was used. The survey was developed based on the sources from literature review. Then, to analyze received information, the methods of analyzing text data in the program R and Orange were used. Then were made empirical comparison of the data obtained with existing studies. Many reports state that the effects of excessive online content can be devastating to the human behavior and psyche. For example, in the book Mind Change, how digital technologies are leaving their mark on our brains, the author examines the impact of technology on our brain, and based on various studies argues that frequent use of the internet and digital technologies can change the functioning of the brain. In addition, in the study, the author describes such negative consequences of too frequent use of the internet as a decrease in concentration, sleep disturbance, and a decrease in the quality of thinking. The author notes that the digital environment can also affect on emotional state, isolate people, and can you see my screen?
We see the screen with the literature review.
Yes.
Oh, okay, just lost a little bit. So, due to the active use of social networks in people, the level of envy increase. In some cases, like it was discussed in internet addiction and problematic internet use, it's argued that the uncontrolled and compulsive use of internet can lead to negative consequences, not only in the life of a particular person, but also in his environment. Internet addiction symptoms include loss of control over internet use, withdrawal from real activities, or socialization in favor of internet. What's remarkable for all of these studies, what they're used for my literature review, is that all of them call for moderate consumption of content from the digital environment due to its active introduction in our lives. The emotional and physical state often undergoes many difficulties. Nowadays, more and more mental disorders are being diagnosed, which are also caused by appearance of the unlimited resource. It's important to understand that the resource of the digital environment is endless, while the human one wears out very quickly under such an onslaught. It's necessary to find a balance in the consumption of everything, including information that we consume from every environment, not only digital. So I want to start speaking about my empirical part of the research. To analyze the behavior of young people in the digital environment, such a form of field research as questionnaire was used. For estimating human behavior, it was chosen to use such questions, which you can see now on my screen on the slide. So in total, I had 19 variables appeared in the survey. As a result of the study, exactly 100 people compared the survey, completed the survey. Really sorry. The respondents were from different parts of Russia. So they were from Moscow or from the, I forgot the word, from north part of the Russia. From the left graph can be seen that the majority doesn't care in what environment to communicate, online or offline. The majority of these categories are occupied by women. At the same time, men are leaders among those who are more comfortable communicating live. The live communication category is also a more common response than online communication. The right graph depicts the relation between the age of the respondents and refers preferences in online or offline communication. Respondents over 22 prefer offline communication or are neutral, on this issue. So the majority spend more than 4 hours a day on social media. At the same time, large proportion of respondents spend more than 5 hours on social networks. As noted in the studies reviewed in the literature review, women spend more time online than men do. It's also confirmed that claim that young people spend an uncontrolled amount of time online based on the reviewed studies. Can be assumed that young people in Russia have a predisposition to various types of mental disorders. According to results of the questionnaire, young people of the surveyed age rarely join the discussion developed in the internet environment. At the same time, as is shown in the left graph, among men, the proportion of those who are constantly involved in the disputes is higher. But the proportion of women who occasionally join public discussions is also higher. Also, men are more likely to leave comments under posts or videos on social networks. At the same time, women also know that rarely, but they can leave a comment under a post. Among men, along with the most frequent comments, they are the largest proportion of people who never leave comments nowhere. Right graph shows that men and women feel differently about being safe online. Approximately 1 from 3 of women feel safe only sometimes. Quarter of women constantly and often feel safe. For men, on the contrary, they almost always feel safe in the online environment. It also worth to be noted that women experience negatively when reading unwanted information on social networks much more often than men. If among men the categories rarely and never prevail, among women the answers often, constantly, and sometimes we can meet more often. As a result, it's need to be said that hypotheses put forward are confirmed, since it's really unlike foreign studies. The results of the survey show that young people in Russia prefer not to participate in discussions developed in the digital environment. In my case, in social networks, despite the fact that men and women have different attitudes towards security in the digital environment, it can still be concluded that Russian youth lead a more secret lifestyle from social networks than shown in foreign studies. At the same time, for a significant proportion of respondents, the same time on social networks exceeds 5 hours, which may indicate the development of various mental problems among our young people. They may develop dependence on the digital environment and social networks, the emergence of high level of stress and depression. The only thing is, if the time spent on social networks includes education, then such listed negative effects may not be viable. There is not enough data in this study to assess the quality of the social media content consumed. Nevertheless, it's worth noting that the consumption of any content from the digital environment on an unlimited scale can lead to serious consequences. Thank you for your attention. You're welcome to ask your questions.
Yeah. It's time for it. Colleagues, do you have questions? Maria, yes.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. And I have a question about according to title of your work, your research is about mass behavior. And so my question is, how you understand the mass behavior and what's the difference between individual actions and mass behavior? And it's my first question, and I have another then. Mass behavior.
I understand that mass behavior is not about, for example, as it was in my work, just young people. Mass behavior, it includes more different. It's not only young. It can be people in older ages. Maybe sometimes it can be teenagers, and I think that's what the mass behavior means.
Okay, Maria, do you have another question?
Yes, and the second question is about maybe how you yourself, how you can describe the level of confidence of your conclusions. I mean about your survey, 100 people, yes?
Yes.
Yes, only 100. So what about level of confidence?
I can say that level of confidence is not as high as I wanted it would be, because I go through questionnaire. More people could be included in this research, but lots of people don't agree to spend even a few minutes of their time to enter the questions I had. And of course, I try to find people who will answer the questions more, I don't know, it's could be said more thinkful, вдумчиво.
Thoughtful.
Thoughtful.
Mindful.
Yeah.
Mindfulness.
And that made I forgot all the words. Выборку smaller.
Sample.
Thank
Sample.
you.
To
Yes,
make,
about
Don't worry.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Daria.
Yeah, I also had a question regarding the sample of this project. So can you describe how the sample was organized and how did you exactly collect this data? In which platforms, and did you have any kind of rules for this sample selection of the cases of the people who were answering to the questionnaire?
People who were chosen for this survey, it's was studying in High School of Economics or were studied here. And I try to spread this information from the through our channels, our groups, which we had when I studied in bachelor degree. Also from our group as well. It happens so that some people from here are have moved, and I thought that it would. I thought that it will be. It will give my research more will make my research more representative.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Can I just have one question for clarification? And can you please tell what is your background in your bachelor? Just for the understanding. From which field you are coming originally?
I'm a little nervous and I forget all the words.
Don't worry, you can answer in
and
Russian,
not only
actually.
the words. I studied in High School of Economics. Государственное муниципальное управление. Я правда забыла, как это называется. Простите.
Okay. No. Everything's fine, don't worry. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Stanislav, you can say your words as a scientific advisor.
Maria, colleagues, it was a great pleasure. Can you please turn off the mic? Mic. Again, I have to say that unfortunately, Maria and me, we do not have an opportunity to discuss a lot this master thesis, and this is an example of quite independent work of young researcher. But I should say that from my perspective, it was carried out in accordance with our requirements for such type of qualification work. This thesis is definitely not devoted to the analysis of mass behavior, yes, which might be defined as similar behavior as a reaction to the similar objects or similar types of object in digital environment. However, it is devoted to quite important topic of changing patterns of behavior of YAS in the internet, and it's very relevant, especially in current situation. Yeah, because in Russia, since last year, we have limited access to certain social media. Some social media, they now are claimed restricted. Regulation is changing, and people really changing their attitudes and their behaviors towards social media and participation in different activities in social media. Yeah, that's why real topic of this thesis is quite interesting and very important. Yeah, and if we will talk about this narrow definition of this topic, I should say that yes, it's quite complete work, which was started from formulation of the goal and finished by empirical research and analysis of obtained data. And of course, there are some, small details which it's important to take into account for the future of Maria researcher career, if she will think about that. For example, design of questionnaire, because in questionnaire itself, you can see some categories like sometimes, often, which we try not to use because different people tend to have different understanding of these general categories. It's right that sample did not describe properly. We did not have information about time when data was collected, but all of this is very important. Yeah, and I just suggest Maria to take into account these comments because it's crucial. And if you will, it will make your increase your proficiency level and will help you to conduct research projects with a proper quality. Yeah, and my recommended grade as a scientific supervisor is 7. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stanislav, thank you. And I was a reviewer, and I want to say just a few words. I think there are several disadvantages, insufficiently thought out and consistent elaboration of concepts. For example, the author actually identifies the concept of digital environment with social network services. The object and the subject of the study actually repeat each other, and it is actually accepted to understand the subject of the research as an indication of a problem, contradiction, lack of knowledge. The object of research is the carrier of the studied problem. The author narrows the research topic. She actually identifies digital behavior with the problem of user dependence on social networks. That is, its addiction and its negative consequences that is the central theme and problem. The author has made the concept of mass behavior as key to her work. For the purposes of the study, it would be very useful to draw out of draw the text of Moscovici, Tart, or Le Bon, or to take texts from the collective behavior paradigm in social movement studies. I think add a bit more. In the paper, I can't find the description of the characteristics of the empirical studies sampling technology and data collection strategy, and it seems to me it's not enough in description of the methodology and for developing tools and questionnaire. And I think that I can offer 6 as a grade. And now you can say some final words, and we move on.
Oh, can I say them in Russian, please?
Oh, okay, thank you. You can do it.
Я бы хотела сказать, что я приняла ваши все, я прочитала ваши ревью и приняла к сведению все свои недочеты, и я с ними полностью практически согласна. Но в большинстве я просто хочу сказать спасибо большое за программу, что, несмотря на то, в каких мы находились условиях, все-таки все смогли вывести на должный уровень, и нам смогли предоставить, конечно, в рамках возможности, все те данные и материалы, которые мы могли в принципе не получить. Просто хочу сказать вам большое спасибо за все то время, которое мы провели с вами.
Thank you for your words of supporting. Okay, that's it. And now you can breathe normally. And now, Iris, I see you are here.
Yes, hello everyone. Nice to see you again. If it's fine with you, if I can turn off my camera for the sake of internet during the presentation, and then I will come back to you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do you see it? Probably you do. Hope you do.
Yes. Everything okay.
Great. So again, hello everyone. My master thesis touches the concept of subjective well-being. Subjective well-being with focus on discovering factors of subjective well-being in Slovenia. The thesis was created under the supervision of Blaž Zupan, to whom I also thank from the bottom of my heart for all his support and patience in work with me. Now, before we start, to begin with, in the 21st century, the role of individuals has become increasingly important because people try to navigate through this rapidly changing world full of globalization, technological advancement, and changing of social relationships. And as individuals try to adapt to these changes, the role of subjective well-being emerge, especially in terms of overall health and success, also highlighting the need for deeper understanding of its contributing factors. When examining the factors influencing this subjective well-being, literature review reveals that the topic is, of course, complex and broad, often leading to a researcher which overlooks the broader concept And additionally, the use of predictive models in sociological researchers is frequently neglected because of the concern about capturing the complex of the real world. So the aim of MAR research, as well as the novelty, aims to provide this comprehensive coverage of subjective well-being factors while also adopting some modern methodologies. But before we start, let's first take a look at what subjective well-being is. So we adopted a definition from a widely known researcher in this area, which is Diner, who describes subjective well-being as three-dimensional constructs. So first we have life satisfaction as a general evaluation of life, plus the presence of positive emotion, that is happiness, and the absence of negative emotions. The evaluation often relies on self-reported questionnaires, which, of course, again, as the name says, is subjective in nature, and thus also raises sometimes concerns about the reliability and validity of these results. But yeah, questionnaires, of course, gained this statistical justification, but at the same time, it still covers this subjectivity. In my literature review, I examined the theory, the recent theoretical approaches in understanding subjective well-being, as well as the positive and negative indicators in understanding which factors affect this phenomena. But due to this time constraints, I will just provide this scheme of what I covered, at least in my literature review, and also to highlight the importance in what way subjective well-being plays an important role. Since my research is more focused in Slovenia, I will take a broader look in the current situation. So, comprehensive review of happiness worldwide reports also show that Slovenia performance at global level in this field is quite high, but still, compared to European countries, we are still quite behind, or at least in the average. So if we look at the OECD, I revealed that the most significant factors affecting the subjective well-being, or at least negatively affecting, appears to be high housing costs, as well as risk of poverty. On national level, the latest report of the Statistical Office of Republic can see again that Slovenia gains around 7.6 out of 10. Also around 60% of people feel happy all the time or most of the time. And in the factors that affect the state is usually financial status, impacts on overall satisfaction, and social connections play an important part in contributing to the greater life satisfaction in Slovenia. Also, I have to mention the report from Ministry, which exclusively was done for, again, discovering factors of subjective well-being in Slovenia. And they also examined that Slovenia performs well in safety, housing, work-life balance, low unemployment rates, and equal pay, whereas challenges are job quality in terms of overpaid hours, poor health outcomes such as overall health, suicide rates, mental health issues, civic engagement, environmental quality. So these are some of the fields where Slovenia is not that good. And so the objective of our study was to utilize predictive models in order to analyze the predictive factor of subjective well-being in Slovenia. Besides that, well, with this, we try to assess the comprehensive set. As also, in addition, we also try to find out which are factors that contribute to the ranking of countries, because we assume that also factors which would predict subjective well-being in a way overlaps with also willing to reside in some country. And with this in mind, we aimed actually to identify potential interventions and challenges for improving well-being in Slovenia. So our first question was which factor had the highest predictive power for well-being in Slovenia, and second, to what extent is Slovenia popular? So it's indicated by the individual desire to reside in the country, and of course, which factor determines its ranking. Those were our research tests. So first we developed predictive models of subjective well-being on the chosen set of European countries. Then we identify relevant features for Slovenia, and then we also did this pilot study in which we gain country rankings and again factors influencing these rankings. So our data set consisted of 3 databases: World Development Index, Eurostat, OECD. In the end, we took an average of 10 years, and our sample consisted of 32 European countries. So based on the around 450 variables, we aim to target 3 variables, that is feeling of happiness, and 2 for satisfaction with life. We took 2 because similar actually variables to also check for robustness. And secondly, we default our target variables for ranking scores of countries obtained within pilot study. Methodology was consisted of 4 steps. First was feature subset selection. So we actually obtained a list of 30 important factors for each target variables using 3 different ranking methods. Then we evaluate models, linear regression, random forest. Then we manually selected top 10 factors based on those 30 that we obtained with help of economic professor, and of course in accordance with previous findings. And lastly, we tried to explain our results using coefficients of multivariate regression and shape values of random forest. Yes. Now the results. The initial results of our study indicate that the variables that we examined demonstrate an adequate predictive power that is above 0.5, at least in both cases of life satisfaction. While this is not the case for feeling of happiness, which may be due to the fact that the scale was a bit lower, and it was reversed. Maybe some statistical things happen in here. But the examination of a comprehensive set of 30 factors for each target variables also revealed a significant overlap, particularly in domains of health, quality of work, education, material and financial deprivation, which can also be seen as a third result in which actually fields in life play an important part in subjective well-being. Now, results for feeling of happiness. First, those are results for on European sample size. Reveal that people who rate their health is very good tend to be happier, but the importance of this factor differs between linear regression and random forest, which were ranked 1st and 3rd place respectively. There are also discrepancies in the importance of housing costs and social support between these 2 models, which also in a way makes sense because they use different statistical background. Looking at the Slovenia, we could see that the out of 9, we 7 significant factors contribute to the feeling of happiness in Slovenia, with self-perceived health being the most prominent. For satisfaction with life, 2 models show similar top 5 factors with, again, slightly different rankings. Severe material deprivation was shown in linear regression, whereas in random forest we have income held by the top 10. Within more detailed analysis in Slovenia show actually 3 out of 9. Now in this, what the most important was feeling safe at night, having the greatest impact on the final prediction value of 7.7. This is followed by a share that held by the top 10 and the inability to keep home adequately warm. The second life satisfaction, again, well now, which is quite also interesting, that both models can coincide that people who cannot afford to replace for furniture have the most significant negative impact in predicting life satisfaction. And the same factor was also obtained in predicting life satisfaction in Slovenia. So the second part of our research consisted of a pilot study in which sample comprised students from economical programs were mostly questioned, and the results suggest that using pairwise country comparison, we obtained the results. So each student actually received around 50 pairs of different countries randomly, and then they choose in which country would they rather live. And then we actually somehow calculate the score for each country, and it turns out that Slovenia actually is the most favorite country, followed by Switzerland, Netherlands, and Austria. And we also found that actually the obtained R squared were quite high, meaning specifically, so the random forest account for approximately 78, variability of the data, whereas linear 77 and 78. Yeah. Looking at the models, credibility models, we see that the most important factor is life expectancy as birth for linear regression, whereas within random forest it turns out to be mortality rate due to chosen diseases. On Slovenian level, we found out that the most important factor was life expectancy at birth, interestingly. And the discussion of our findings, first of all, our findings highlight the importance of self-perceived health, feeling safe at night, and material deprivation that emerge as the most important factors within Slovenia. Specifically, subjective well-being is affected by negative influence of happiness, which is a bit interesting because usually we would expect that good health will contribute positively, but here somehow negatively contributes positively. So we could see that we could see if we looked after the health reports, and it turns out that Slovenia has a huge problem in comparison to other European countries with alcohol consumption as well as mental health challenges, which was also explicitly presented in the report for Slovenian Ministry. Next, the feeling safe at night also is one of the most important. Slovenia ranked as one of the most safe countries in Slovenia on European level. And the third one, the inability to replace foreign furniture, is also interesting because the lack of material possession has a positive impact on individual satisfaction with their life. This counterintuitive result can be understood in two ways. First is that individuals actually focus more in Slovenia, more on non-material aspects such as social relationships and personal fulfillment, again, also examined in previous reports. And Slovenia also has a high amount of social mobility, as well as a quite low income inequality. So this factor may contribute to this positive impact of material deprivation, but of course further research are needed. The pilot study indicates Slovenia ranked as most desirable country to reside in, with life expectancy at birth identified as the most important. Now, we also find the significant overlap between factors influencing well-being and country rankings, which are mostly in field of work and health-related issues. So this is also quite interesting finding, which of course should be researched in more details in further studies. Now, the conclusion, we tried by using advanced statistical technique, we successfully predicted the impact of various factors on subjective well-being on European sample and in Slovenia. The significance, especially in terms of practical, suggests that the significant results suggest that the interventions, at least with aim to increase the subjective well-being in Slovenia, should focus definitely more on health, material support, productivity level, which we didn't quite find it the most important, but it appeared in the top 10 factors, and safety. That's my conclusion. Thank you for your attention, and I'm of course willing to speak.
Nice font.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Thank you, Iris, and colleagues. Your questions, please. Okay, when you are thinking about questions, let me read the review's opinions. Okay. Wait a moment, something wrong with my sound. The academic supervisor, he was Blaise Zupan, professor at the University of Ljubljana. And she, oh, sorry, he wrote a lot of good words about your work or your work, and resulting grade, his resulting grade is 10. And comments. I propose highest grade to Iris. Master's due to its alignment with the approved topic, its scientific novelty, practical significance, and thorough implementation of research goals. The breadth and depth of both theoretical and empirical material analyzed, along with meticulously executed empirical research design, showcase her technical proficiency. The correct, comprehensive, and in-depth interpretation of research results, complemented by valid conclusions and significant practical recommendations, further attest to the caliber of her work. The thesis successfully applied scientific developments in applied statistics, thereby making a solid contribution to the discipline. And that's it. And the next comments was made by Stanislav Pashkov, a lecturer from the Department of Sociology, HSE. Yes, let me read two, as far as I understand, important comments. First of it, despite initial concept about the optimal and reasonable selections of factors and variables, Iris was able to formulate the main model of the argument. As a criticism, it is worth nothing that Iris points out in the text explainability techniques such as multiple regression and sharp, but doesn't offer the reader a bibliographic link to better familiarize himself with this non-standard framework. Separately, it is worth nothing the database issued related to the selection of operational indicators from different sources of statistical data. Of course, it should be noticed that among majority of researchers, there is a focus on the use of data from different sources, since they are aggregated. On the other hand, they belong to the cross-sectional data format. Questions arise whether it is possible to apply several sources in relations to a single analysis framework. The fears are caused by the centralization of resources like VDI, EVS, OECD, which are described in details by Iris. But the method of their mutual combinations is not properly specified. Since Iris used later the original actual size of the sample, since the phrase include 50 unique pairwise comparison for each participant, remained mostly shadowy for understanding the true parameters of the sample. This introduced some concerns regarding the interpretation of the R-square indicators, set on the table 4.1 or table 4.3. So, and the additional comment, unfortunately, during the reading the text, there was an issue of missing of the non-parametric statistical frameworks, although this could be recommended for execution, since neither in the body of the text nor in the appendix. There is a sign of the descriptive structure of the collected data in the particular the nature and quality of the distribution of the variables used, that made it difficult to understand the consequences of the methods that Iris used in her work. Nevertheless, suggested grade is 9. So that's it. Iris, you can comment a bit and to say some final words.
I thought there would be any questions. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I'm
sorry. I was actually going to ask you some question.
Yes, please.
But
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was focused on reading.
Yeah. It's fine. So I just wanted to ask you about the publication of this work, and do you have any plans for sharing this research with the kind of community in Slovenia and international community?
Yeah, that question was also in the preparation. I do. First, I need like a proper rest, definitely. Yeah, I do. But yeah, there is still a lot of improvements. I see that's the problem. So I'll probably try to first improve it and then to publish it, because the concern that Pashkov give, it's the one that I also thought when I finished my analysis, which is to reduce the number of variables. So to apply first PCA and then to build this model in order to factors to not repeat. Yeah. Definitely.
Otherwise, I think this is really interesting results, and I think that you should take an opportunity to make a kind of visible work out of this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you for
compliment.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
Your final words.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Thank you for providing this opportunity, despite all these circumstances that appeared, that you managed to finish all this program, and I wish you good luck with program as well. And I don't know, I learned a lot, really a lot, and can wait to apply my knowledge, to put knowledge in the world. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good luck. Okay. Now I want to give a microphone and the desk to Anna Semyonova. Anna? Yes.
Okay, here.
Yeah.
So good afternoon, dear committee members and colleagues. I'm happy to see all of you here today. Let me start the demonstration. So can you see my screen?
Yes, it's okay. Everything okay.
Okay, so the topic of my master thesis is dedicated to the collaboration networks and smart cities. It focuses on analyzing both scientific events and companies and all the collaboration patterns that they have. So for this study, I use social network analysis techniques, and I use both events and companies for this analysis. And I consider both these modes of two-mode network. The idea of my master thesis raised on a conference almost a year ago. And here I want to also thank Fotegei Sherezkerov for his contribution, for his ideas, and for his support. So let's go ahead and start. So the concept of a smart city has gained significant attention in recent years as urban centers face mounting challenges associated with the rapid urbanization, resource constraints, and the need for sustainable development. According to the United Nations reports, the world will face an increase in urban population by 68% by 2050. It is undeniable that urbanization has a significant adverse effects on the quality of life of people, making the development of urban infrastructure an absolute necessity. Cities are complex systems in which many different stakeholders interact. In this vein, collaboration seems to be fundamental to the success of smart city, enabling stakeholders interact and collectively address complex issues, share resources, and implement cohesive strategies. While the understanding of a smart city primarily revolves around the incorporation of intelligent technologies and aspects of artificial intelligence, it is really important to say that it's something more than just implementation of such technologies. Also, owing to the multidisciplinary nature, smart city encompasses various domains, such as urban planning, management, information technology, sustainability, and computer science. In addition to the inherent ambiguity of this practical understanding of a smart city and the underlying objective of the smart city agenda in Russia also exhibits its own peculiarities. So large Russian cities like Moscow are actively engaged in the development of initiatives encompassing various sectors such as healthcare, education, waste management, data collection, and monitoring. So Russia here presents a really intriguing case as smart cities are really in the center of attention of government bodies, and also the relatively small population residing in rural areas, making this research problem really necessary. So the analysis is aimed to analyze which institutions contribute to the smart city concept within Russian context. It is aimed to provide comprehensive review of the collaboration process in Russian community, highlighting key patterns and the potential benefits it brings to urban environment. So unlike scientometric analysis that uses bibliometric methods to analyze citation networks, the study focuses on the analysis of companies that participate in scientific events that took place in Russia from 2007 to 2022. So the sample for this analysis was obtained with mixed technique. Both parsing method and manual collection of the data were used, and I used two big platforms like eLibrary and event aggregators such as CNews and ECC2go.ru to obtain information about events that took place in Russia. So generally, why should we analyze these events? So in the literature, there are three main reasons why we should consider such events. So we need these events firstly to disseminate the research and share the findings, to provide opportunities for researchers to receive feedback on their work, to meet and collaborate with others in the field. And if we make this macro view on these collaboration patterns from individual to global level, we can find many interesting things. We can find the main contributors, the key contributors to the field. We can find some patterns, and this is what my analysis is aimed to. So I have mainly 3 research questions. Firstly, I want to find the key players that contribute to the smart city concept within Russian communities. So I want to find those players that contribute the most. And here I will use spatial social network analysis techniques. Also, I want to find the communities within the network. So do we have like stable communities that somehow collaborate between each other? Maybe we have like universities that's create this collaboration cluster, and they may be like separately evolving and all the things. Also, and finally, I want to find the key patterns of the collaboration network among companies. So this question implies like advanced social network analysis techniques. Here we will use modeling and Ergam's approach to answer to this question. So let's go ahead and start. Even though my research is more methodological than theoretical, I think that it's really important to understand the foundation of this concept. So this concept is founded into the collaboration planning theory of the urban environment that was developed by many researchers. The first researcher that introduced the smart city topic was Robert Hall in 2000. It was a really like new thing, but it is evolving right now. According to one of the most citing paper by Gryffindor, smart city components, the smart city concept has many different components. So we can understand smart city through smart economy, smart people, smart governance, smart mobility, smart environments, and smart living. And actually in Russia, we have many, many different smart city initiatives, and we can talk like about it in the end of this presentation, okay? So here I used mainly 2 data sources. So the first source was e-library, where we can find those scientific publications, these conference proceedings. And this is like the biggest representative database of publications in Russian. Here, I use like full collection of scientific conferences, and this is actually the main advantage of this data source. But however, we have a really great disadvantage that data collection is a really long and never-ending story. So I spent nearly a month collecting this data manually, and this was quite like big amount of time. Also, I used ECT2Go. It is the biggest Russian database about the business companies. So here we can easily find and parse the data, and no API needed. And I used Python parser to obtain this data. Okay, and also I double checked this data and cleaned the missing values and all the things. So generally, we got the total number of 652 events and the total number of 2,011 companies that took part in these events. So here we have the table and the main information about the network. So using the program text-to-pack, this edge list where we have events and companies, this edge list was transformed to the 2-mode network. So we have generally 1 mode about events and the second mode about companies. And you see that the total number of nodes in this big network equals to 2,000, almost 3,000 nodes. It's quite a big network. And in the second mode, we can see the companies, and in the first mode, and in the second mode, we can see companies. So here we have events and companies that took part in these events. Total number of edges equals to 6,000. And also the main strategy to work with 2-mode network data is to split this data into one-mode projections, and this network will be valued. So making projections, I've made here the events projection and companies projection. You see that here we have 652 events. You see this number also here. And making projection on this two-mode network, we created this network that consists of 652 nodes and almost 22,500 edges. And similarly, we created companies projection, and we split the projection on two networks. So basically, we have 5 networks that will be used in this analysis. You see that this strategy is also can be seen here. Here we can see the big network. This is our like initial two-mode network on events and companies. Here we are making a projection. We have business events, we have scientific events, and we have companies that have participated in these events. Also, we have a list of attributes, and we will use them to make like pictures, to make the analysis, and also these attributes will be included in the ergoms approach, making these methods like really statistically like clean. Okay, so addressing these 3 research questions, separate network analysis methods were used. So addressing the first research question on the key actors that took part in the events, I used Kleinberg's hubs and authorities and two-mode network cores to analyze two-mode data directly. Also, 3 centrality measures were used, mainly degree centrality, between centrality, and eigenvector centrality. And we can use these measures directly to this two-mode network. Okay, so using these techniques, we will find those key players that took part in the scientific events. So considering the second research question, where we will try to find these communities, we will use Click's Lavane algorithm and Leiden algorithm. So we can use these methods to find these cohesive subgroups that contribute to the smart city domain like the most. And with the respect to this third research question, we will use advanced network analysis techniques. Namely, we will use exponential graph random models to understand this key pattern that lie behind this network that we got, and the network autocorrelation approach to explore the patterns that lie within this collaboration network. Okay, so let's start with the exploratory data analysis. You see that the number of events, the total number of events rise through this period. Here we have COVID, but despite this COVID, we can see that most of the conferences, this really huge spike here, and we can see that the interest to this topic is stable. Also, you see that the second top location is online, which proof with these facts. Here we can say that the majority of events took place in Moscow. Here we can also say that the most popular type of events is conference. Second most popular type is international conference, which is also quite important. So answering to the first research question, we used Kleinberg's hubs and authorities. And here we can see the events, and here in the bottom we can see companies. And using FIAC program, we lead to the conclusion that all of these events here are international conferences. And the most of the players here are top-rated Russian universities. So here we can make a conclusion that if you want to make a really popular and top events on this smart city topic, you should be a university and you should create the international conferences, because international conferences are like really attractive for all the members in our network. Also, tomorrow's score strategy was applied within our network. And we can say again that most of the events here are international conferences that took place in Moscow. Most of the companies are big, so their size was higher than 3, which is also quite interesting. And here we should say that all this information is really crucial for us, because after that, modeling technique will be applied. And without these exploratory parts, modeling is like cannot be done. So we should say here that most of the events are international and most of the companies are really big. So both, it can lead us to the conclusion that both participation and organization of the events dedicated to the smart city topic require substantial resources, and only big companies may attract participants. Okay, so after that, centrality measures were applied, and here we should say that by employing the degree centrality measure, we will refer to the number of connections a company has with events. So this centrality quantifies the level of engagement and participation of the company within the two-mode network. So a higher
I'm sorry, please no more than 5 minutes, okay?
Okay. So here we can say that degree centrality is the highest in the Rostelecom company. It's like a big Russian company, business company, and Presidential Academy. Here, what is also interesting is that our university, National Research University Higher School of Economics, refers to the key position, and we can say that it can be considered as a bridge between all the network, making our university a really great contributor to this field. And again, we can say here, Rostelecom, it's my university, Presidential Academy, and considering the first research question, we can say that these companies like Rostelecom, Ranepa, and HSE, they can be considered as key players based on their high centrality measures. Also, we can say that these institutions may be considered as key drivers of knowledge exchange, as they possess connections to influential and well-connected events. Well, answering to the second research question, we can say that we have a clique. The largest clique within our network consists of 7 vertices. And here, what is interesting is that despite geographically dispersed locations, we have a cohesive subgroup that have strong collaborative relationship and shared interests. So this collective participation within the network indicates that these institutions share interests, and their research focus and scholarly pursuits are the same. Also, we use 2 community detection algorithms, and we can say that our results are quite stable. We can say that light blue cluster consists of universities. Here we have both universities and companies, business companies. And we can see that the only difference is that in the lighten algorithm, these 2 clusters, namely blue and green, they will merge, making our structure of our network is really like stable. Okay. So after that, we can say that network, considering the third research question, we can consider key patterns, and using network autocorrelation analysis, we used Morin's index and Geary's index. And both of these indexes indicate a moderate positive autocorrelation between the size of the network. And here we can say that company size plays a role in shaping the collaboration patterns within the network. So in simple words, rich get richer. So those big companies play with each other. Okay, so this is the information about company size and collaboration, which is quite interesting. Okay, and finally, I used Ergam's approach, and according to find these key patterns in collaboration network of these companies. And here we can say that government companies are linked 1.26 times higher than by chance. So we see that here we have a structure that government companies are kind of shaped with each other. And similarly, companies with the size 3 and the size 4 are linked higher than by chance within each other. So we can say here that we have a segregation, that those big companies play with each other and they collaborate with each other. And this like parameters shows the statistical significance. Also, and finally, it's 1.63 times more likely than chance that nodes with similar rating for universities, yes, will communicate. So we can see that those top-rated universities tend to collaborate 1.63 times higher than by chance. And it is like one of the most interesting results that I have. So finally, I use the goodness of fit and sample statistics to assess the models, because sometimes we model something, but the model, these models do not quite good. So here we can say that this goodness of fit and sample statistics are stable. These results are quite good, and we can say that our model is.
It's 1 minute.
Yeah. So finally, we can see that there are key players that contribute to the smart city community. And finally, we can say that we have these stable communities that can be considered as cohesive subgroups. And this community detection show the stable results. And finally, we can say that we have positive autocorrelation within our network based on size. And results show that medium-sized and large-sized companies tend to collaborate higher than by chance. Okay, so thanks for your attention. I'm ready for all the questions you have.
Okay, Anna, thank you very much. And now, colleagues, please ask your questions.
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Stanislav, and okay.
Yeah, Anna, thank you for your presentation. I have a question about your data sources. Precisely, as far as I understood, you used publication data from e-library, and also you download information about collaboration of companies in different events. Did you consider to use publications in traditional media, in media sources, because this smart city topics might be discussed over there, and it also might be quite a productive source of information about stakeholders, collaborations, and key players who like involved in this topic publicly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question, Stanislav. Here, my research was focused on events. So I mainly use these data sources to find events, and after finding the events, I'm trying to understand which companies took part in these events. And I understand your question, but here we can see that there are many conferences. So for me, it's quite surprising that every day there is a conference, maybe more than one. So it's quite, it was quite important for me to set these boundaries because if without these boundaries, this analysis is like a never-ending journey.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Maria.
Thank you very much for your presentation. For me, it's very impressive and very interesting idea to research events. Good idea. I will try. And so my question is about that. Smart city, digital city is one of the concepts in government programs, especially in municipal level. Therefore, some content in this term or some events obviously could be created under influence of B2G relationship, B2G agenda. So have you analyzed the participation of state institutes in networks, collaborative networks, or maybe?
Here, you can see that I have these attributes. You see that we have this government or no. And it was quite interesting for me that most of the companies like here, they are state-owned. So we have like two separate clusters. Here we have the like companies that are more universities, like, okay, and these companies are both business and state-owned. So for me, it's quite surprising that most of the conferences that I analyzed, they was supported by the government. It's like I have this suggestion, but for me it's quite surprising that this concept and this topic is highly supported by the government, making this topic really important maybe for the government, because they actively participate in those events. And so they have big funding, big resources, and they can even imply their ideas to the smart city agenda, making here the important conclusion that government companies are linked 1.26 times higher. So they tend to be like together here within the network I have. Did I answer this question?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
If I may, I also would like to ask a question to Anna, and thank you very much. I want to ask a question and make a comment. Probably I should start with the comment. This year we were teaching the course in advanced network analysis, and Anna was one of the actual instructors in this course, and it was nice. It was so nice now to see that you used all these methods that we were teaching now in your work. So all these ergon models and autocorrelation indices and so on. So really nice application of what you are doing in all spheres. I wanted to ask you a question. As I have some experience of working with e-library data, how do you find this experience, and how was the procedure of data collection in your case?
So
was it difficult, or like how did you get it?
So I collected all the data manually. So I spent nearly a month collecting this data, like from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. So it was quite painful for me, but that's why I will recommend e-library to make it more easy to collect the data. I know that you have experience in collecting this data, and you can say something about it. Yeah, unlike scientometric analysis, which uses the citation information about this network, I consider it only participation. So for me, what was important? For me, it was important to collect the list of events that were dedicated to some topic, and it is quite different from the classical bibliometric approach. So it wasn't like really hard. As I said, I spent a month. It's not really like a big amount of time if we consider such a big structures, but I had some problem with the API. So my account was blocked several times, and it was quite painful, but I succeeded. And generally, we can say that this is the biggest Russian database. So we do not have the alternatives to collect such data.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your experience. In our case, it was also not such an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I want to read all the comments from the reviewers. I'll just say that all the reviews are positive, and we have 9 the grades, and as far as I remember, Tamara Shiglova, she commented that there is no composition of the goal into specific tasks. That makes it difficult to perceive the results of the analysis. It is not always clear how exactly the methods used help to move towards the answer to the research question posed. And that's it. Nothing else.
Okay. What can I say about it? Well, I
just
thought...
your final words.
Okay, I just want to give you many thanks. I thank to the colleagues for all the opportunities the lab and the program has given me. I'm really like feeling myself as a lucky person to have such big professionals around. And yeah, thank you all for the contribution, for the kind words, for the really precious comments, and I will use all this information in the future to make this as a publication. Okay.
Thank you very much for this. Your defense is over. It's everything. It's finished.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and now the last participant for today, Jamming Joe. I hear us.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Everything okay? I'm sorry that for the delay. We have strong discussions before. So the desk is yours, and you can start. You can take 15 or 20 minutes for your presentation, and after that, questions and your answers.
Okay, thank you. Let me share my screen.
Yes, just a moment. Yeah, everything okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to share with you my master thesis, how broadband internet access affects firm innovation, an empirical study in China. My presentation is organized as follows. First of all, what motivates us to finish this research is twofold. Regarding China's context, innovation has become an important theme in China's economic transformation and development since 2011. In the area of information, telecom infrastructure is the soil for innovation. But if we turn to academia for an answer, Surprisingly, that existing studies have focused on the relationship between innovation and tangible infrastructure, such as highways, street network density, and high-speed railway. On the other hand, researchers have explored the effects of the internet on unemployment, wage, labor productivity, economic growth, and political elections. However, few studies have considered the causal relationship between internet penetration and technology innovation of firms. Therefore, our research aim from this master thesis is to examine the effect between broadband internet penetration and firm innovation. And if it exists, we try to quantify such causal relationship using comprehensive data and robust methods. Furthermore, we attempt to unfold the mechanism behind firms' innovative behavior. Let me describe the data and variables. In this research, we explore 4 data sources. The first one is a global patent database. It contains information on more than 100 million patents from 120 countries around the world. And the second one is an official report that provides data of broadband internet users at prefecture city level. The third one, WIN databases, contains basic attributes and financial information of listed companies in China. And the fourth one, China City Statistical Yearbook, provides us prefecture city level control variables. The firm's innovation performance, namely the dependent variable, we use different measurement of patents, quantity of patent, quantity of effective patent, quantity of patent citation, and the quantity of effective patent citation. Our core explanatory variable is the penetration rate of broadband internet, which is measured by the number of broadband users per 10,000 people. Let's see the control variable at firm level. Firm level control variables in regressions include firm's capital amount, whether a firm is state-owned, the number of employees, age of a firm, the firm's leverage rate, net profit, and revenue. Also, we have other 8 variables. These data are obtained from annual financial reports of listed companies. And the city-level control variable in our regressions include GDP per capita, industrialization rate, the amount of FDI, and the data of one city's physical expenditure. These data are obtained from China City Statistical Yearbook. Let's move to our regression models. We use panel OLS regression. Our baseline model is shown as follows. Noting that the constant term, fixed effect terms, individual year subscripts are omitted here. Using panel OLS regression model enable us to increase the number of observations, which provides more sample variability, less collinearity, and more precise estimation. Also, it enables us to capture inherent heterogeneity in each individual unit. Thus, our results become more convincing when being interpreted. Let's look at our main results. We use the quantity of pattern as dependent variable and broadband internet penetration rate as the core explanatory variable. Then we add firm level and city level control variables step by step. The result shows that with 1% increase in broadband internet penetration rate, a typical firm will gain 0.2% more patterns, just as indicated in column 3 and 4 in this page. In our case, one may argue that the penetration of broadband internet is correlated to cities' status in the same year. We address this collinearity problem by substituting one period lag term into the panel regression. This trick allows us to control for unobserved heterogeneity that may be present in the data, and to some extent, to help eliminate the time series endogenous issue. Table in next page confirms our baseline result. In this part, we are going to examine the heterogeneous effect. We try to change Y variables to capture heterogeneous effects of broadband internet penetration and to better understand how sensitive our results are. We use few variables to measure firms' innovative behavior. Given the nature of counting data, we will apply Poisson regression and negative binomial regression as well. Also, we examine the effect on the quantity of 3 different pattern types: invention pattern, design pattern, and utility model pattern. To summarize our result, with 1% rise in broadband internet assets, there will be a 0.32% increase in the quantity of effective pattern, and approximate 0.2% increase in the quantity of pattern citation and effective pattern citation. Meanwhile, a firm is going to hold additional 0.22% innovation pattern quantity and 0.16% utility model pattern and 0.04% design pattern. Noting that the invention pattern is most sensitive to broadband penetration, our results assert the enhancement effect of providing broadband internet access. At last, we are going to investigate the mechanism behind innovation. We choose to evaluate it from 3 dimensions: innovation willingness, innovation ability, and financial support. The innovation willingness is the subjective expression of firm innovation and the fundamental driven factor for firm innovation decision. However, it's unobservable. So we introduce 2 variables to capture it. With lens of financial economics, we use standard deviation of pattern quantity to measure firms' willingness to take risks on innovation behavior. And second, we collect data of firms' R&D investment that can intuitively quantify innovation willingness. we introduced two variables to measure a firm's innovation ability. Those are technician employee ratio and PhD degree holder ratio in a firm. As we all know, the restriction of funds will greatly affect the innovation willingness of firms. But government subsidy plays a role in directly injecting funds that can alleviate the financial pressure and reduce financing costs of a firm. So we introduced three indicators to characterize the financial constraints faced by a firm. In this part, we reached two major findings. Both claim that accessing to broadband internet has large impact on firms' innovation behavior. The first one, 1% increase in penetration rate leads to 1.3% increase of a firm's willingness to take risks on innovation. And the second one is that the financial constraint for firm innovation does exist. Providing broadband internet access and governmental subsidy as well might be a feasible policy. Finally, let me share some concluding remarks. By integrating four databases, we construct a unique panel dataset and empirically verify the impact of broadband internet penetration on firm innovation over a period of more than 1 decade in China. We implement panel OLS regression and find that for every 1% increase in the broadband internet penetration rate in cities, the quantity of patents held by firms increased by 0.21%, or about half unit of patent. The promotion effect of broadband internet penetration on the quantity of effective patents is particularly evident. Our baseline results are robust. We try adding lagged explanatory variable, substituting dependent variables, and testing the heterogeneity of patent type. Further, we investigated the mechanism behind our finding. Accessing to broadband internet has large impact on firms' innovation behavior, especially on the firm's willingness to take risks on innovation. And the second one, providing governmental subsidy might be a feasible policy to relieve financial constraint for firm innovation. Considering the effect of the receiving subsidy, 1% increase in penetration rate incurs a 0.2% quantity of patent-wise. Okay, finally, is the practical significance. I think from the academic angle, we study how intangible internet infrastructure affects innovation by drawing more reliable conclusions based on panel data of listed companies in China. And from the perspective of public policy, the conclusion of this thesis not only provides a reference point for evaluating the performance of telecom infrastructure construction, but also provides a guideline to investigate the innovation mechanism. That's all. Thank you. Your comments are most welcome.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. Now, colleagues, you can ask your questions. Huh?
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe I. Yeah.
Daria first.
Oh, okay. No. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I have a question about practical implementation of your results. Could you give some comments of some practical perspectives of results which you obtained? Thank you.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly. So I
can repeat. Can you hear me well now?
Yes.
Yeah. So my question about practical implementation of your results. Could you comment on that? Thank you.
Well, I think the significance is of twofold. And from the academic angle, I think this master thesis filled the gap of existing literatures. It estimates the impact of broadband internet penetration on firm innovation, and we have already discussed the mechanism behind it. So and on the other side, from the perspective of public policy, I think our conclusion has reference value for the underdeveloped country or region to achieve development and realize economic catch-up by invest in these telecom infrastructures. For example, providing broadband internet access.
Okay. Colleagues, do you have another questions? I have one. As far as I remember, you have another topic of your work, something about mutual foundations.
Yes.
And why you decided to change it?
It's because of the availability of the data. Yeah, I mean the mutual fund data in China is it's not as available as expected. So I have to change the topic in all in a hurry. So yeah, and I have to say sorry to my supervisor.
Okay, thank you very much. And now, Daria, could you read your review or give you some comments?
Yeah, I can give some comments. The review is also available for all the members of the committee. You can read it. Actually, this is quite positive one, very positive one, I would say. The only question I had was him, as Ivan Alexandrovich just asked. Like I expected another topic, and it turned out that this is another topic. But I asked Lyubov, and she said that it is okay, that it is possible to change the topic. So if we evaluate the work in the topic which was now presented, so then I actually do not have any big questions and comments. So it is a well done work, and I evaluated it by 9 out of 10. So yeah, I think it is really a good way to use methods that we study here at Masna to make some, actually this kind of work really has some straightforward practical significance, I think, because it really highlight some important issue in the development for the countries. And I think this is a good example of this study. As much as I can evaluate it, and I will be here to also hear your comments, dear colleagues. That's it. Ivan Alexandrovich, we do not hear you. Your microphone is muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I forgot it. Thank you very much. And now we have an external review made by Vladimir Korovkin. He is a professor of business practice, Moscow School of Management, Skolkovo. And he wrote, the big drawback of the research is the lack of clearly stated theoretical problem. The literature review doesn't conclude with a theoretical gap. Generally, there is a stream of papers establishing correlations between penetration of internet and other socioeconomic metrics dating back to the late 90s, which is not fully reviewed. The discussion over digital divide is not part of the paper. However, the results may have some practical significance for regional policy making. The empirical work is impressive. In general, the use of dataset is practical. However, as stated, a literature review has important omissions. First of all, the theoretical and empirical investigations of the digital divide issue. Yes, that's it. The next one. The generalization of results is not strongly grounded. While number of patterns may serve as a good indicator of innovation capabilities, linking it to psychological characteristics like innovation willingness and, in particular, innovation risk taking seems to be an overstretch. Not all commercial innovations are patient protected, and obtaining a patient is not linked with particular entrepreneurial risk. Now, the generalizations are not grounded neither through literature review nor through qualitative empiric work. E.g., example interviews with businessmen who would confirm the hypothesis. And additional comments, some English proofreading is necessary. There is noticeable a number of language mistakes, though generally the quality of language is high. And suggested grade is 7. Okay, that's it. Now you can say final words.
Can I just make a comment? I'm sorry, I just pronounced 9 instead of 8, and now when I started writing my comments, I just realized that I was not clear. So I suggested 8 as the grade of this work.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry for yeah.
Okay. Okay. Your final words.
Actually, I didn't prepare for this part, and
okay.
What are 2 years? Yeah, we as student and together with you, the teachers and other classmates, we go through these 2 years, and it's quite a lot of things. So, and my final word should be thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we need half an hour, I think, and we have to discuss the final grades. And thank you for all participants. That's it. Now you are free, and you can celebrate this day. And I think we can meet a quarter of 7, I think. I think it's enough for us, half an hour to discuss.
Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, I will move everyone who is not in the commission to the waiting room. So Jan Min, I'm sending you to the waiting room. Okay. Да, кажется, все свои. We should stop the recording. Just a second.